recently I came across a video called Google Earth Proves That the Exodus Never Happened. And that video was done by a channel called Cult of Dusty. And he went on to say, it's amazing that we have this type of technology now. Now people can actually see the truth and see that this is impossible. It absolutely never happened. Okay? He then went on to say, y'all try it yourselves. Try it yourselves. Everybody should see this so they can know that they've been following this book that is just a bunch of lies. Well, you know what? Let me play just a little clip of it. I'll play a little clip. All right. Search for Exodus in Google Earth. His video is one of the videos that come up first. Oddly, I mean, it's like 3 down. But let's take a look at some of the things that he said. I'm going to have to probably censor some of it because he says the F word every 5 seconds. Which I'm not judging. I'm just saying, like, you know, they are Google is a lot harder on those of us who speak about the truth because his video is 100% monetized. Whereas if I put something like that up, I highly doubt it would be monetized. And so that's another question, you know, Cult of Dusty, Godless Engineer, all these guys need to think to themselves, why do we get censored? Why are our videos suppressed when their videos, you know, pop up like first? You can call it a conspiracy, you can call it whatever, but that's just what it is. Why do they push the videos of debunking the Bible and suppress the ones that are showing proof? And if you think about that with an open mind, I don't know how you can come up with anything but the fact that they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know the truth.
Hi, I'm Dusty Smith, and I'm about to use Google Earth to prove that one of the most important stories in the Bible, the Exodus, absolutely is not true. Alright, so let me remind you the story of the Exodus. According to the Bible, Moses took 2 million Jews from East Egypt into the desert looking for the Promised Land, and he roamed around aimlessly in the desert for 40 years before finally reaching the Promised Land, which was outside of Jerusalem. 2 million people in the desert for 40 fucking years trying to move from East Egypt to Jerusalem. Now clearly, whatever primitive wrote this story didn't realize that in the future we would have things like Google Maps and could instantly debunk bullshit like this. So let's do that together, shall we? All you have to do is go to Google Maps. What we're going to do is we're going to type in Egypt. All right, then we'll close the side panel here to give us a little bit more room. Technology and easily see for yourself that it can't be true. And hopefully some of you Christians won't just take my word for it. Hopefully you'll go look for yourself and see that what I've said is absolutely true. And when you guys do that and realize that these stories in the Bible absolutely cannot be true, then maybe it will give you pause about the other shit that's obviously not true. You know, like talking.
Really? See, this is what I'm taking him up on. Right? Okay, so I am going to take him up on that offer. And this is not to demean him in any way, but he has a pretty big following, and the video has, you know, a large amount of views. The thing is, you know, I've never needed proof for my faith. I seriously just thought that mostly everything from then is likely hidden away or destroyed by now. So it's never been something, like it didn't matter. It would have changed the way I felt either way. The way that I do believe in God and that the things in the Bible actually did happen. But due to recent discoveries, I am very much amazed that these things, we have so much proof for it. And in the times that we are in, with so many people questioning who they are and what they've been told, and the unfortunate truth that, yes, many religions have been subverted by evildoers, I guess I could say, I think I could understand why so many people do question these things. And then when we have, of course, the main academia saying there's absolutely no evidence this happened, so that means the Bible is probably completely false. Well, that was true. They didn't find any evidence at the Mount Sinai that they claim is Mount Sinai. But the thing is, that Mount Sinai is not the true Mount Sinai. And I could just easily say that and be done with it. Or I can show you, well, the Catholic Church for sure. And if you haven't seen my video on that, I did it about a week or so ago. But anyway, they have absolutely lied about it. And so the questions really are, have they done this to make people question their faith? I don't know. And why would mainstream academia, people that are supposed to use the scientific method and use data and any type of historical records, why haven't they? I just don't understand it. Many people lose their grant money. They won't get government grants or things like that if they say that they want to go out and do any type of research regarding biblical truth. And before I continue, I want to show y'all something that I don't think these people debunking really grasp. They don't grasp that there are many scientists that are creationists, that are Bible-believing Christians, that are very prominent scientists, and that won't get their funding if they openly, speak out. But some do. It just depends. But this was a debate that Ken Ham did with Bill Nye. So let me just show y'all a few clips.
Who actually invented the MRI scanner. I want you to meet a biblical creationist who is a scientist and inventor.
Hi, my name is Dr. Raymond Damadian. I am a young earth creation scientist and believe that God created the world in 6 24-hour days, just as recorded in the book of Genesis. By God's grace and the devoted prayers of my godly mother-in-law, I invented the MRI scanner in 1969. The idea that scientists who believe the earth is 6,000 years old cannot do real science is simply wrong.
Well, he's most adamant about that. And actually, he revolutionized medicine. He's a biblical creationist. And I encourage children to follow people like that and make them their heroes. Let me introduce you to another biblical creation scientist.
My name is Danny Faulkner. I received my PhD in astronomy from Indiana University. For 26 and a half years, I was professor at the University of South Carolina, Lancaster, where I hold the rank of Distinguished Professor Emeritus. Upon my retirement from the university in January of 2013, I joined the research staff at Answers in Genesis. I'm a stellar astronomer. That means my primary interest is stars, but I'm particularly interested in the study of eclipsing binary stars. And I've published many articles in the astronomy literature, places such as the Astrophysical Journal, the Astronomical Journal, and the Observatory. There is nothing in observational astronomy that contradicts a recent creation.
I also mentioned Dr. Stuart Burgess, Professor of Engineering Design at Bristol University in England. Now, he designed a double-action worm gear set for the 3 hinges of the robotic arm on a very expensive satellite. And if that had not worked, if that gear set had not worked, that whole satellite would have been useless. Yet Dr. Burgess is a biblical creationist who believes just as I believe. Now, think about this for a moment. Are scientists like Dr. Burgess, who believe in creation just as I do, a small minority in the scientific world? But let's see what he says about scientists believing in creation.
I find that many of my colleagues in academia are sympathetic to the creationist viewpoint, including biologists. However, they are often afraid to speak out because of the criticisms they would get from the media and atheist lobby.
I agree, that's a real problem today. We need to have freedom to be able to speak on these topics.
Let's just show the Cult of Dusty. Interesting name for his channel. But, and I want you to be open-minded, Cult of Dusty, because I'm not biased. Although I am Christian, I never needed proof for my faith. And so whenever I started looking into it, I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, wow, it really does. And especially being that Noah's Ark has been found, and they are hopefully starting the excavation process very soon. We have the images. I showed that in a different video. I will link that at the end of this video. But let's go ahead and show the Exodus. Okay, I'm going to use this site rather than, this is Google Earth, but it has everything marked off on it. And that way it's easier to find everything. And it has each one of the verses of the Bible from Exodus to help you, verify and everything. So they started up here by the Sukkoth camp, Exodus 12:37, and the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Sukkoth. About 600,000 on foot were men, besides for the children. So, we don't know the exact number. People say around 2 million. We don't know, but it was 600,000 on foot that they considered adults. I'm assuming. Okay, this is the supposed Mount Sinai, St. Catherine's. That's not the real one. Okay, because if you just think about it, it makes no sense. Why would it be still in Egypt? The whole point was to leave Egypt because they were slaves there. That was the whole point. And that's another topic with Vatican's the one that says that this is the real one. So that makes anybody question anything. But so let's go. So they crossed over up here, and then they came down right here to Ethram's camp. And this was Exodus chapter 13, verse 20. And they took their journey from Sukkoth and encamped in Ethram on the edge of the wilderness. And when you look at the pictures from here, it definitely looks like there's like somewhere that it was like a wilderness where they had to turn around at some point. But let's just stay on the facts. But this route took them about 11 days. And this is the crossing site. And the people that have been out there have been able to corroborate that this is definitely, there's a land bridge right here. And so, however you want to, take it, they've explained it scientifically how the water could have parted. And, obviously we consider it as God helped Moses to part the water. And that's how they were able to cross over. And they've looked into it how, the horses would able to cross over the sides, if it was able to actually, was it too steep and all these things. And they have absolutely said that it was definitely, and they have said that they absolutely could have crossed right here. And it's weird to me that Google Maps on both the Pro version and this version has this part essentially scrubbed. Like you can't see past that. In some parts of the ocean you can go down and see it. Well, you can't right here. But the people that have been out there, and there's pictures of it where they have done the searching. Okay, so then they came down right over here where the water was bitter, so they couldn't drink the water here. And again, they have had people that have gone out there and tasted that water, and they said it was horrific. Like they tasted it all, like they could still taste it in their mouth all day because it was so bitter. And that's exactly what Exodus chapter 15, verse 22 to 23 says. And then they came upon right here, Elam, where the 12 wells and 70 palms are. And there absolutely is 70 palms, and those 12 wells are still there. Okay. And then we of course have the real Mount Sinai, which is Jabal Allah's, and I have shown that in one of my other videos, and you can go through all of this. I will leave this, but there's almond trees, which is very interesting because let me see, somebody's staff was made out of almonds. Levi, I believe. And so that, it all confirms it, like each one of these areas. And there's tons of footprint petroglyphs that are still there. And you can see those pictures whenever you go to this site and to another site that I'll show y'all in just a second. Again, I'll put all of this in the pinned comments. But all you have to do is you just click on each one of these things and you can see and read each one. I just wanted to use this because it would be easy for anybody that wants to go through it. And we have Elijah's cave right here. And then, I mean, it just goes on and on. The golden calf altar. And we can see all of these things from multiple people that have gone separately. These people, oh look, you can, the picture actually is right here, where all of these calves were drawn, which is very strange in that area of Saudi Arabia. Let me see. The burning bush right there. Elijah's cave. The real Mount Sinai. They also have the Blacktop Mountains, which is said to be where it was on fire. Or, you know, God struck it down. And, you know, I know he points to some part of it. Oh, well, it took them 40 years to find Jerusalem or whatever. No, that wasn't the point. They were slaves in Egypt. And so then whenever they went out here and they didn't wait for Moses to come back and they started making these calves and the golden calf altar, which all of these things are out there. You know, they have found all of this stuff. The point was that was their punishment. You know, I guess people think that you can just do whatever you want. I want you to think about God as like your father, which, you know, essentially he is. And if you do something bad, you're going to get punished in a certain way. Whatever it is, you're going to be punished to, you know, not hang out with your friends, whatever the case may be. But I guess some people have gotten this thought that just because God is all loving, you know, he loves you unconditionally, that means that he would not punish those people. I think this comes from a lot of the lukewarm Christians like Joel Osteen types, where it's kind of like, yeah, you know, do whatever you want. It's okay. Yeah, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. You know, yes, you have to have your faith in God, but you also can't just be running around like a heathen and expect not to have some type of punishment. And so I'm not sure why that's like a funny part to Cult of Dusty, how he thinks, oh, that's funny that they were, you know, banished there for 40 years. It's no different than your father. A good father should be punishing their child when they do bad. You know, the fathers that act like they're their kids' best friends end up acting like crazy kids, you know. We all know this. I mean, especially any parents. A good father is going to punish their children. And that's what happened. That's why they were out there for 40 years. So, I mean, if that's what you want to make as your main standing point, I mean, whatever, you can, but that's silly. There's actual archaeology proof, exactly as Scripture says, in this area. So I'm using Google Earth, like you said, and as did the people that have gone out there. Actually, the original people that found the real Mount Sinai, actually used the Bible because the Saudi government took all of their information, all of their notes that they had, because they were taking notes to where they would go. But the Saudi government took all that, and all they had was their Bible, and they followed it. They followed exactly as Exodus stated, and that's how they found this Mount Sinai. And then, you know, the archaeology proves this. Let me see. I'll kind of scroll through here. This is a good site. guess it's not going to load. But it has all the pictures and everything. Actually, I'm going to play a clip from the video of some of the people that have gone out there. And, you know, you can see for yourself what is out there. And so you can no longer say that archaeologists haven't found anything, because they absolutely have. And just like when they found Noah's Ark, they sent out... this is locked. They sent out unbiased non-Christians to go and verify this. So this wasn't just Christians saying, oh, yep, there it is. They had unbiased people go out there and say, is this or is this not? Okay, let's just go ahead and with the clip.
Mount Sinai. At age 40, Moses killed the Egyptian and was forced to flee for his life. Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the back of the desert and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. Older maps will reveal that Midian is in northwest Saudi Arabia. This is where we should find the mountain of God today. Moses was tending sheep when he encountered a mysterious burning bush that was not being consumed. The Lord said to Moses, "When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain." Paul, in the New Testament, told us the location of Mount Sinai in Arabia. Josephus told us Mount Sinai is the highest of mountains in the region of the city of Midian. This is our destination, the real Mount Sinai in Saudi Arabia, and is named today Jebel al-Lawz. Herschel Shanks, editor of the Biblical Archaeology Review, stated, "Jebel al-Lawz is the most likely site for Mount Sinai." From the Saudi shore at the Gulf of Aqaba, we first inspect the remains of the pillar that once had Hebrew inscriptions on it, but was removed by the Saudis after Ron Wyatt showed it to the authorities. Today, a Red Sea coastal survey plate marks the location of the column. Our first destination is Elim, where the children of Israel would find water to drink. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees, so they camped there by the waters. Using Google Earth, we are able to zoom in to the location of Elim. It stands out with all the green palm trees grouped together in the canyon or wadi. On the ground, we can see the circular wells still in operation today. Of course, there are more than 70 palm trees here today, but amazingly, 12 wells are still here at Elim. The children of Israel would have been stretched out through the canyons here for a great distance, but they would have access to the drinking water at these wells. And they journeyed from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. Next, the children of Israel traveled through the wilderness of Sin and murmured against Moses. The Lord lovingly provided them with manna every day, except the Sabbath. On a detailed map next to the town of Al-Bad, or ancient Midian, we can see Mugair Shuaib, meaning the caves of Jethro. Here we see the name Jethro listed on the map. The facades of these caves were carved by the Nubidians in more recent times, 2,000 years ago, but the inner caves themselves date back to the time of the Exodus and Jethro, 3,500 years ago. And the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock at Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it, that the people may drink." Northwest of Jebel el-Lawz is the rock of Horeb that we will explore next. Standing on the crest of a hill, the singular rock stands 50 feet tall and can easily be seen from a great distance. As the people complained once again, asking for water, the Lord heard their cries, and he commanded Moses to strike the rock. Then water gushed out in abundance. The rock was split down the middle, from top to bottom, by the hand of God. Erosion can be seen around the rock from millions of gallons of water flowing out into the nearby camp. He opened the rock and water flowed out. The fissure is so large, one can walk through the split in the rock. The rocks below show clear signs of water erosion. And Moses built an altar and called its name, "The Lord is my banner." Here in the encampment is a large square altar assembled with uncut stones and was built after the defeat of the Amalekites. Also in the encampment are the remains of these circular formations of stone used around the base of their tents. This is clear evidence of prior occupation at this site. Our next destination is Jebel el-Lawz, or Mount Sinai, the mountain of God. As we pan across the mountains, we see the peak of Mount Sinai that was burned by the presence of God. The blackened peak of Mount Sinai marked the location where the mountain was on fire. Mount Sinai was completely in smoke because the Lord descended upon it in fire. Its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked greatly. To the right of the peak is the location of Elijah's cave. It is extremely rare for anyone to obtain video of the mountain, since entering Saudi Arabia is very difficult, and they are guarding this mountain from those who would photograph it. Near the base of the mountain are the guardhouse and fence, which surround the area where many artifacts are located that help to authenticate the site. This Saudi sign states, "Archaeological area, warning, unlawful to trespass. Violators are subject to penalties passed by royal decree." Using Google Earth, one can zoom in and see the guardhouse and fence, which are next to the sign. In the encampment area are many inscriptions, including this wonderful image of a menorah, which is undoubtedly the oldest ever found. Also found in the encampment was this broken millstone that would have ground up the manna that was collected. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and he rose early in the morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. Google Earth shows us the altar at the base of the mountain with an animal pen next to it that would have held animals to be sacrificed. Here we can see an entrance into the animal pen. The remains of pillars are in this area also. Some pillars are white in color, while others have more of a granite appearance and are very large in diameter, as we can see here. From this same area, one can look upward and see the burned and blackened peak. The rock has literally been burned from the intense heat. When Moses was on the mountain with God, a golden calf was built in the camp by a rebellious group. As Moses was descending the mountain, he saw the people dancing around the golden calf. Here we can see the encampment from the mountain and the location of the altar for the golden calf. Using Google Earth, we can zoom in on the large boulders which comprise the base of the altar. On the ground, we can see the massive large boulders and the fence erected by the Saudi authorities in an effort to preserve this site. Again, we have the government sign warning visitors to keep out. It was on top of these large boulders that the golden calf was placed. 11 of the 12 tribes, save the tribe of Levi, danced around the golden calf in rebellion to God. Panning from Mount Sinai, we peer through the fence and see amazing images that are inscribed on the rocks. Egyptian-style figures of the Egyptian god Hathor have been placed here like graffiti. The bull was placed in high esteem in Egypt, where the children of Israel had just left, so they created images that came natural to their rebellious heart. These images were inscribed here because the golden calf was resting here at the time. These inscriptions are unique to Saudi Arabia, according to a Saudi archaeologist.
Alright guys, I hope y'all enjoyed that. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Like, share, and subscribe. And share this with Cult of Dusty, because he might not know. But I hope he can be open-minded, and I hope his viewers and other people that have dismissed the scripture as false because of certain things will start really looking into it and realizing maybe there is something to this. Because the Bible isn't the only place that had this information. There is a tablet, a huge tablet in one of the pyramids, it discusses essentially the same thing. It talks about the people that fled at the same exact time frame, all of these things. But if you want to see more about that, they have an entire movie that they just made. I can't remember what it was called, but not a movie, but a documentary. But anyway, I will put that in the pinned comments. And anyway, y'all have a wonderful day. Like, share, and subscribe. Bye, guys.